Andrew, I got a question for you.
Sure.
What's the most important thing a worship band can do together?
You know, the big question that usually goes along with that is, do we need a rehearsal?
Do we? Yeah,
because we meet a lot of churches. You know, you're working with volunteers, and people are like, well, I can't come in on another night of the week, and there's all this stuff going on. And it just feels like so much work. But then you've got the churches who are like, we've got to rehearse for 3 hours because we need to nail every single section of this song. And it kind of comes back to like what the philosophy of your church is. But we'll talk about that on a different section of this podcast. What's the most important thing your worship team can do together? I think, and this is coming from years as a worship leader, I think it's spend time together.
Yeah.
And have fun together. Like, be a team. We were talking the other day about, like, why aren't worship teams small groups in their churches?
Yeah.
I think in a lot of cases they should be. I think they'd be a lot better off. That's not to say you need to, like, get along with everybody on the worship team and they all need to be your best friends. Some worship teams have very big, like, generational gaps, and maybe that feels awkward to them. And I challenge you to maybe push through the awkwardness a little and see what could come out of it. But spending time together, I think, can be really good for just general team building, getting to know each other. But what I was going to say about it is I do think you should get together outside of Sunday morning or whenever your service is. And I don't necessarily think you need to rehearse that whole time. What I think a lot more worship teams need to do is jam together.
Yeah.
And I know that might sound really counterintuitive, like, well, no, we can only get everyone together for an hour. Why would we jam together? What does that even mean, jam together? But it's the idea that you're playing songs that everybody knows. Maybe you have a new song that you have to kind of learn some things about. But in general, hopefully your worship team is bought into the vision of, like, they show up, they know how to play the song. And so we don't need to really rehearse it to death. But bands that jam together, like, who spend time just playing music together, are inevitably so much better than bands who don't spend any time together.
Yeah, and you know, we used to teach a lot of lessons, and we used to teach kids how to play together. And so imagine you've got a brand new drummer kid, and you've got a brand new bass player kid, and you've got a brand new guitar player kid, and they know enough to kind of sort of, like, you know, let's say the guitar player can play 3 chords, G, C, D.
Power chords.
Yeah, power chords. And the bass player knows kind of where to find that, and the drummer can sort of kind of keep a little beat. Now, we could just shove a piece of music in their face and be like, let's play this, and they would never be able to play together, and they'd be looking at it and they'd be trying to, or instead we go, all right, let's work to the point where we can strum G for a measure, C for a measure, D for a measure. Okay, you're getting it, you know, and now the drummer is kind of tapping out a beat, and the bass player, after 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour or whatever of them kind of just like jamming, all of a sudden what happens is you're not looking at any paper.
Yeah.
You're looking right in the eyes of the other musician.
Yeah, you're playing
actually
together.
You've gone from looking down to looking up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge. And I think a lot of worship teams get stuck in the looking at the paper thing.
Yeah.
And there's a whole world out here. If you just kind of stop and go, wait a minute, we're playing a song that's got the same exact 4 chords all the way through the song.
I probably don't need to look at the music.
I don't need to look at the music. In fact, I do a lot of, like, filling in and playing.
Yeah.
And I purposely, if I need to look at the music, I'll go look at something like I'm not hearing, it's weird, maybe it's tuned down in the track or something, I can't hear it. I purposely try to never look at the music and learn it by ear, because I try to have everything memorized first off. But I try to just get it in my brain without having to look at anything. But if you can stop looking at the paper and go, oh my gosh, this song is easy.
Which again, it's church music. Like, if you've never challenged yourself to memorize a song, like, church songs are the perfect songs to practice memorizing music to. They're so repetitive. They're so simple.
I'd venture to say, if you're going to start a little small group of your worship team or whatever, just start playing 4 chords.
Yeah.
And see what songs you all of a sudden already know.
Shoot,
that'll just come up.
We've done 2-hour worship sets where we only played, I don't know, 3 songs in the 2 hours, because we were just having so much fun together.
And it was
we were
awesome.
listening to each other, and we were watching each other. I'll close with this. I remember mixing at a church not that long ago where the band was playing, and they're one of those churches that rehearsed the snot out of the music, like 2.5 hours, and all the musicians are just miserable. You can tell they're just so tired of drilling that minor 5 chord on the bridge 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And then they get done, and there's like a 5-minute break. And so what do the musicians naturally start doing? They start jamming together.
Yeah.
They had more fun in those 5 minutes of jamming than they had in the 2.5 hours of rehearsing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And lo and behold, I think they played together better because of those 5 minutes of rehearsing than the 2.5, or those 5 minutes of jamming than the 2.5 hours of rehearsing. It's going to build a lot more joy in your team.